Here we go. We are live.
Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Steve Van Samson,
Curtis M. Lawson,
Paul Christian Glenn, Joshua Rex, Raz, Rob Smith,
Hey, everybody. Thank Cthulhu. It is Sunday, and welcome to another episode of the Clutch of Personalities. We have a special show going on tonight. It is a musical show, our first guest of musicians. And because of this, I am handing the hosting duties over to our fabulous UncleNecRo. So
Hello.
Ratatosker and I will say hello and let him get on with the show.
Okay, well, greetings and salutations. I am your humble servant, UncleNecRo. Mostly you should know me from the Tomb of the Terrible and other weird things that I do. But as she mentioned, tonight is a very special night. I'm very, very excited to the point of the butterflies in my stomach are extremely large and possibly Mothra-sized. But tonight we have Klank and Pat, both from, normally I know them from the band Klank, but tonight they're here to talk about something a bit different. How you guys doing so far?
Good.
Today?
Doing good. Thanks for having us.
All right.
Yes, thank you very much.
Cool. So the special thing we're talking about is SynthPop LullaBye, and I'm going to read from the Bandcamp page, a little blurb. SynthPop LullaBye is the alter ego of Klank, Diolosa, and Pat Servedio from Klank. The San Jose, California duo steps, oh boy, I'm old, into uncharted territory with the self-titled EP, conjuring up sounds that will no doubt please fans of electronic rock outfits like Depeche Mode, Pet Shop Boys, OMD, New Order, and the likes. Get ready to hit the dance floor with these 5 dynamic songs that show a different side of the men behind Klank. So, after giving it a few listens, okay, more than a few listens since it was released on Friday, I gotta say, as I said earlier, I am very pleased with the outcome of this EP. It is very different from what you normally would do with your past Klank releases, and so we're going to talk about that. First of all, when exactly did you guys conceive of the idea of doing a project like this?
Sorry.
that's the loaded question.
Yeah, I would probably say it was probably on Still Suffering tour in probably
really?
like 98 or 99.
Wow.
We used to bring on those tours, we used to bring recording gear. into hotels with us. And we would just sit there and write music, and we had non-Klank type music that would come out. And that's when we started, talking about, hey, we should put out this side project. And we had put out one song for a sampler under the band name 54, which is actually one song that's on this release, song called So Alive. It's been updated since then, but yeah, that was probably the first. What was that, around 99 2000 we put that out for like a fanzine sampler or something like that. So yeah, it's been in the works a long time. We don't work fast.
We work at our own pace.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah.
So okay. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, you were new to me, and I listened to both the old stuff and the new stuff. And as I was saying before the show, it's perfect. It isn't one of those like, yeah, we're just going to try something new here and give it a kick. No, you guys, it's amazing.
Awesome.
Thank you.
You absolutely nailed it, going into a completely different genre. And there's no hints of like, we're just this other band trying this out. It's
Awesome.
It's great.
Cool.
Loved
Awesome.
it.
Glad to hear. I think it really stems from our, like, both Klank and myself, our background, or what we listen to is just like Klank always says, it's like from ABBA to Slayer and everything in between, and and I think that shows through on this project. It's nice little it's more positive. Not that Klank isn't positive, but Klank has a darker feel to it, so it's more brighter and real positive, real uplifting. Yeah, and that was one thing we tried to shoot for on this, especially with the times we live in now, is to try to be more uplifting material to something like that.
Yeah. Interesting that this goes all the way back to the Still Suffering era, because that made me wonder, did you ever, like, when you were touring for that, like between that and all the other times you played as the band Klank, did you try to maybe play some of that stuff maybe in its earlier forms, just to see what the reaction itself would be? Or
not live. We never played anything live. A lot of it always stemmed from Pat, because he does all the programming and sequencing and stuff. So it'd be like, we talk about things or say, oh, I got a loop or an idea for something, but we never dabbled with that live during the Klank stuff, because it was still like in the formative thing. We didn't have full well, we had So Alive. We had this one other song which will come out on the next release whenever that's done. But we like Pat said, we kind of slow coming at it. We had stuff kind of cataloged for a while, and then we get together and say, oh, well, we did a bunch of Klank stuff, like, oh, let's focus on the SPL stuff, the SynthPop LullaBye stuff. So it was like, start talking about it. Hey, I got these loops, I got this part, I got this. And it's with him and I, because we've been working together for so many years, it's like, it's very fluid, it's very organic. So it's like, we'll just be sitting in his studio and he'll be like, what do you want to do? I don't know, what do you want to do? And he'll press a couple of buttons, a couple of strokes of the mouse, and next thing you know, something's playing, and then the hamster wheels in our head are spinning, and we're like, oh, let's, and that's usually how things kind of happen for us. And then usually he's got like a really cool loop and maybe like some analog synth lines or something, and that's formatively how the initial things kind of come together. Or other times he'll say, hey man, I got almost like a whole sketch here, and he'll like say, hey, I'm going to shoot you over this MP3. Okay, cool. And then I get it and I listen to it, and as soon as I hear it, it's like, as I'm hearing it for the first time, the little light bulbs going on my head, because I'm thinking, oh, there's a great melody he already has built in, and we can, build on that and this and that. So it's a pretty cool process, but we had never taken that live. We still haven't done anything live with it yet. Maybe at some point we will, but it's just kind of cool to get to the point where, like, that's, here it is, 2024. Yay, we finally put out our first release after like 25 years. It's like fine wine, can't release it before it's time.
And we've been talking seriously about releasing it the last, handful of years, but then, Klank always takes precedent, which it should. And, then we got a couple of other musical like documentary scores to do, so it always got pushed back. And then finally this, we literally never showed anyone, even our business partner and artist, Anthony Herrera. Like, I think we just showed it to him within the last few months, and he was like a big force, like, okay, here's the artwork, here's a video, we got to get this out now. And we were like, all right, I guess we're doing it. So he was a big push behind us to actually like do it now. So then we were like, all right, we released the Klank remix CD last month, and all right, finally in August we were like, all right, let's just, what do we have mixed? What songs do we have? We have a ton of songs, but we just felt like, all right, let's just be a little critical on what songs we're releasing. And that's why we were like, let's just start with an EP for right now.
Right.
And we chose the songs that we felt were done. Other ones, we're always reworking stuff, things like that. So so it was a real big push from Anthony recently to actually have artwork and stuff like that and a video done. So
it's it's not pressure, but it's Anthony will just be like, oh, this is your songs. Do you have any idea what your order is going to be and stuff like that? And then he goes, well, check it out. Here you go. It's all right here. Now when are you going to get done with it? And it's like, oh, okay, time to crap or get off the pot, so to speak. So it's like, now we're like, okay, so now we're gonna tunnel vision. We're gonna work on this and get this done. And literally it was like, we just finished up with the masters and everything of this. And literally the following week, like I was telling you, I go over Pat's on Fridays, and then it was like we had already jumped into brand new Klank material. So it was like, lighting the candle at both ends. Got to go with the creative flow whenever it comes.
Right. Well, I do know that I have so many questions that have kind of popped in my head as you were explaining this. The first and foremost is, I guess it's not really much of a stretch to go from the sound of Klank to the sound of the SynthPop LullaBye, because listening to the EP, it's a different thing entirely, but it's much, much more than just Klank without the guitars, because, a lot of work has gone into crafting the music behind it. I was going to mention something about metalheads generally embracing a lot of like the synth pop and the more, the lighter electronic stuff from like the 80s and such. We have one of my favorites is especially as far as new artists go is Poppy, and a lot of the metal community is seem to embrace her completely. And I know Ryan Clark from Demon Hunter has that Knives side process. Side process? What the? Okay. Wow, I need caffeine. The side project, which was very much similar to like the synth pop dark wave Depeche Mode kind of stuff from the 80s.
Even Chino from the Deftones has his like full electronic synth poppy-ish. That's absolutely fantastic.
What's his thing called again? Is it Crosses or something?
Crosses,
like
yeah.
Crosses. Okay.
That new album is just, oh my god, so flipping good. I can't stop.
And I am known since junior high as the metalhead guy, the Hessian, but I also am a big fanatic of Duran Duran. I just learned that last year they actually issued made a gothic kind of dance album, and nobody told me. I was a bit upset because I was late in the game. So I was jamming to that a lot in the past few days. But what exactly do you know what the response has been to the SynthPop LullaBye release from like your normal fan base?
The good thing is we've, through the gift of social media, we've seen people like with their comments and stuff. We've gotten text messages, private messages, and the people that have been sharing it, they're like, man, this is so good. I love the fact that, which for us, because we're so, people, like I said, they see you in a box. They go, oh, you're just a heavy band, so we wanted to showcase different stuff. My, vocals and stuff, there's no aggression in the vocals. It's just sweet melodies. And I try to, Pat's a great producer with this, because I'll come to him and say, I got some ideas, and okay, well, try putting a couple of layers. Let's double it. Do you have any ideas in mind? We'll go with harmonies and stuff. So it's the fact that people are responding to it so well, and they've just been like, man, like, I can't turn this off. I've had this on repeat since Friday, and it's like every time I listen to it, I'm picking up more and more little subtle nuances, especially like when they listen with headphones and stuff, because that's when you really hear the joy of Pat's wizardry. When you hear stuff goes, there's stuff that swirls around in a 360 and things go back and forth, and it's just an audio rabbit hole that you get kind of sucked into. And we've been really happy. I've been sending Pat screenshots back, in our text chat with Anthony, screenshots. Hey, check out what this guy said. Check out what this guy said. When the video first came out, I sent it to Doug Pinnock from King's X. I texted it to him, and he was like, dude, this is friggin' awesome. And it was like, he's a good friend of ours for so many years, but we still have that, you try not to fanboy, but you're like, this is rock and roll royalty. And if he says you're doing something right, then that means that's, pretty nice bit of smoke up our butts. You know what I'm saying? In a good way, So it was like, hey, Doug liked it. Now all these other people have been really vibing on it. So today, even today, like, I got a couple of text messages, and I was like, man, it kind of feels good because you do it for you, because you want to create something the way you and your buddy create. And it's not that it's for anybody else, but same thing with Klank. You always tell yourself, well, I'm conscientious of the audience, and we know what people like. But at the end of the day, you got to be happy, and you got to be the one who you're doing this all for 100%. And then you say, if somebody else likes it, great. If they don't like it, not so great, but whatever. We still had fun making it, and we like it. But so the fact that people have been digging it, and it's been getting a good response, is actually, it's good for us, because it makes us feel good, and validifies the countless hours for 25 years we've been putting into this one.
Right. So, I noticed this morning, as I was driving in to another town, the sun was rising. It was just coming up over the horizon, where the sun was just this red ball of, hey, I'm the sun, I'm coming up. And there was a nice chill in the air, and there was nobody driving on the highway that early in the morning. It was about 7:30, 7:45 when I took off. And I popped this on, and the vibe of this EP works really, really well at that part of the morning, I found. Like, let me pull this up. It's available on the Charon collection, I believe it's what it's called. They don't have an exclusive. It's not like an exclusive label that you guys are stuck on. It's just they're just distributing. Is that
because
it's released on our label, SmokeDogg Productions, and then we've been working with Charon Collective. The last few releases of Klank to release the CD. So they release CD on their website, and then we do just digital on ours, and then Spotify and all the Apple Music and all that fun normal jazz stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have they been go ahead.
We have we have really good relationship with them. It's been good working with them.
And I was just going to say, you should be able to find the information up above, down below, depending on where your show notes are at. From where you're watching, there should be links to all of their stuff, and to like the Bandcamp, I believe, and YouTube. So
cool.
Yeah, that's good, because in the past I remember reading about all the woes with previous labels that you guys were on. And I remember. Okay, so Cornerstone 99, you guys are playing, and I go over to the merch table, and the rest of the band was at the table, but Klank, you were off somewhere taking care of something else. But I was really, really wanting to buy. This is about the time when the original Numb came out. So I rush over to the table, and I buy two copies of the CD, one for me and the one for my friend that I promised I would pick up because he was off on army maneuvers that weekend. So then I looked, SmokeDogg Records, that's pretty cool. And later on, I noticed it was re-released through another label itself, which kind of confused me. Right. We talked about this at the previous, right, like 2012.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Another label wanted to license it from us, and they did. And we were supposed to get, because we did all the record, they didn't lay out any money. We did everything as usual, like ourselves. So it was from CD one. We were supposed to get X amount for a royalty, and we have still to get one statement for the thousands of records that were sold and the money that we never received.
Paid back for the video.
Yeah, we did the video.
Publishing for the UFC DVD we were on. Our video was on.
Yeah.
Rest assured.
Yeah.
Mine was the original pressing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. I don't even think I maybe have one of those left somewhere. A couple maybe.
I have one also. The jewel case looks like someone did an 8-ball off of it. It's just all beat up and cracked, but it's in my storage. I do have it. It wasn't me that did the 8-ball, by the way. I'm just saying. It just looks, you know, like typical 90s, like it was in a road case somewhere in somebody's car getting bounced around.
Okay. Now I realize this is kind of like shifting away from my original intent here, but is that why you did the Numb Reborn version, or was there a different?
That's exactly why.
Okay.
Yeah, a couple of reasons. One, the main reason was because that label had a 5-year. We had a 5-year agreement with them, licensing agreement, and we can't get a hold of them to stop them from selling it. So we figured, all right, well, we don't want to promote that CD anymore. So let's just re-record it. So we re-recorded, I think, pretty much everything on it, right? I don't think anything is.
Yeah, no, we didn't rehash anything.
Yeah, and we added a couple of new songs. And then that was basically the reason why. Yeah, you're right on. Spot on.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it's definitely worth the money to pick up that version too, because
it was either re-release it or change our name to Symbols.
Right, right.
Like the artist formerly known as.
Right, like Prince.
Yes.
Right, the word
slave on the cheek.
Yeah. So for the record, I do like the mix, the original mix of the Blind from the original version of Numb, but that's just me.
Well, that was also the fan club version, and it was a bit raw.
Yeah, I like the rawness of that. Just anyway, going back to the SynthPop LullaBye, the opening song here, "In Hopes to Better Me." It's a great opener of the track. You'll probably read my comments when I finally publish the official review on my blog, but yeah, it's just, you know, it's got a good solid beat here, good musical, you know, build up, and the vocals, the singing is just, you know, melodic, has a great hook that kind of draws you in. It's what I guess we can talk about what was what led up to the making of that song.
Well, the way it usually works is 99.999% of the time the music is written first before the lyrics. Like even if like I said earlier, in the formula of steps, if Pat sends me something, you know, the hamster wheel in my head might be spinning and I'm getting ideas, but usually by the end of the day, the track, essentially the skeletal core of it is set up. And then it's okay. So we know what we pretty much want to do here. Sometimes we'll go back and go, let's cut this part down, add this, extend this, or add a part here or stuff. But we wanted to like listening to it, like I said, it has that vibe. It's chill. And a lot of it comes from lyrically, like our life, the life I live, life Pat lives. I like to look at things in my surroundings, sometimes write in a third party But and also with that one, it's like, what's the path to happiness? I've wondered to myself. I've come to find the answers aren't in the books upon your shelf. All of my experiences made me who I am. I know that I'm not perfect, but I do the best I can. It was like, this is all the same things that everybody says it. Like, or anybody who's got a conscience, you think to yourself, you're like, man, like, everybody wants to be happy. And then, you start thinking about stuff like that, and you see stuff in the news or stuff going on in your personal life or your family, your entire family or your friends, they're struggling with stuff. And, you kind of, like the hook says, I've been searching for a place that I don't even know if it exists. Because everybody wants to find not so much bliss, but the happiness factor. Happiness can be in a lot of forms. People think, well, happy is just you walk around with like a crap-eating grin on your face and you're just skipping on clouds all day, and that's not really what it is. That can be for some people, but this was more like real for us. Like, well, like what are we looking at? What are we seeing that makes us want to be better as people and find and maintain some kind of happiness in our life, however that may be. That's why I say, join with me if you'd like and take a look within. Never too late to change what lies beneath the skin. Because they said, some people can't change. And I think that's true with some people. They're just so set in their ways. But happiness is a choice. Same thing. You can look around you. You can see everything that's sad and miserable and bad and downer. And some people get so caught up in that they're just focusing on, I don't have this or I don't have that. And my world is so crappy. But they don't take time to think about what they do have, how they're blessed, how you got a wife, you got kids, you got a house over your head, you got a table, you've got a car, you know what I'm saying? Like, just, you got friends, you got family, you got your health or whatever. We get so caught up in, the stuff we see and the negative that we don't think about the positive or trying to be happy with what we have. I don't even want to say content, but because you always want to be better, but you want to maintain a certain course of happiness in your life. You'd say, hey, man, I've struggled for so many years, whatever. I got to a certain point. I don't want to go down on the roller coaster. I want to keep going up, so to speak, and bettering myself. And that's where essentially that was a thought process where that had came from.
Yeah. And I know your story. I understand your own personal struggles throughout the decades there, so I completely understand where you're coming from.
Musically, this was right after I moved out. This is probably like 2010, 2011. We wrote it. It was right after I moved out to California. And we had bedrooms right across from each other in like 2-bedroom apartment, and all the gear was in my bedroom, and then we'd run a cable across the hall to the microphone in Klank's bedroom. And it was musically, it's a song that came together in like 5 minutes, and it was really based off of we found the sample actually, and then just the synth line just came, and then everything else just flowed so easily around it. The whole song came together super quick.
We like to use the term happy accidents with a lot of stuff, because sometimes it's like he said, we have this really cool sample. He put something behind it, and then it's just like, oh, wow, this is great. Oh. And then next thing you know, like 20 minutes later, you're like, did this thing just write itself, essentially? Like, because, you got the meat and potatoes there. You just got to dress it up a little bit. But it was like, wow, man, that was pretty cool, That
was going to be my next question. If like, say you're walking down the street one day and then like a noise happens and it starts looping itself in your brain, you kind of build up upon that. And it's like, this would make a great song. Because that happens to me with my own stories as I'm writing something. Somebody says something off to the side that doesn't really have much context, but my brain just takes it and goes, what if this, and boom, story's written in my head, at least. So
that happens all the time. So, we get ideas for stuff. We'll hear, like when Pat used to work at this other college, it was like, machinery out in the street making all this noise, and
Yeah.
you know, and just driving around, we'd be like, sit there and you're like, oh, I don't know if you can hear this. You try to do a voice note or video. Don't pay attention to the video. Just listen to the sound. Listen to the sample.
Mhm.
And it's like, and then we try to expand on it, clean it up, or recreate it. And it's weird. A lot of times too, like, you know, that was built around one sample. Sometimes we'll hear something like in a movie or somebody will say something and I'll be like, oh, I'm so glad I just happened to get that, what they said it. And it was like, you know, then play with it, manipulate it, pitch it down, you know, Pat works his magic on it. And then next thing you know, there's loops and synths and 808s and hi-hats and all kinds of stuff around it. Like all from somebody
Right.
talking.
And it's funny too, because we talk about it all the time, because we'll go into like months of like you just have no creativity whatsoever. And it's usually like both of us at the same time. Like we just have
which is
no
odd.
creativity. You get into the studio and you're just like nothing comes out. And all of a sudden you hear a sound somewhere and you're like the flow just starts happening. Like it's pretty wild how the brain works.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So you get some Foley noises in there every now and then?
Yeah.
So what?
Foley sounds, just like
Honestly, you'd really be surprised what it literally could be anything, you know. And like I said, we just came off of several months of not being in a place that was like, dude, I said, I feel kind of guilty. I'm like, I feel like we should be doing something, but I fire up the computer, I sit with the guitar or something, and I'm like, I'm not happy with this. You know, I'm like, I mean, we're also extremely critical of everything we do. You know, people go, oh, this is great. And you're like, yeah, we thought it sucked when we first did it. You know, that's why it changed 67, 35, 122 times before it is what you hear it. And sometimes even after that, that's part of the curse too, is it's like changing, you know, you write a story. Afterwards, you're like, oh, I've had this out for a while. I probably could have changed this. It's like I don't want to say you're never satisfied, but the creative wheel is always spinning in your head, you know, hey, we did this 32 years ago. You know, we could have added a part here, could have did this, but it's like, you know.
Right. I do my best editing after I publish it. So
yeah. That's us. Once it's mastered, we're like, oh.
that's when the remix album comes out. So
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
so
Or you re-record the album 3 times.
right. Moving on to Please Don't Tell Me. So
That's pretty much like a relationship song. It's kind of like it's weird too with that one, because it, like, musically that came up first, the keyboard line, the you know, Pat was like, he had this idea. It started with that, and then it doot, 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 and then the little drums and stuff behind it, and then it was like, oh man. And the way it usually works for me is you can't say, hey, Klank, can you write a song about world peace or hunger or something like that? Like I can't normally pick a subject and write from it. It's weird. I have to just kind of see what pops out when I'm listening to a melody. And that hit me, and it was like, oh man, this is cool. I like that. You know, like bookmark it, save it. Didn't know what I wanted to say, but then first was like, then out of nowhere, it was like, oh, please don't tell me, please don't tell me that it's over now. It's kind of weird too, especially myself after now going through a divorce, but this wasn't based on that at the time. It just kind of came out. And that one was weird because the chorus, the hook, was technically written before the rest of the song was lyrically. And then it was like, man, you know what? This has a total retro vibe. Let's just, you know, your hand in my hand, we hold tight to everything we love. You know, and it was like, not to say sappy, but like it's somebody who's in love, and you're thinking, well, you know what? You don't want it to end. And with the song, it's like, it's not that anything ended. It says, you know, like storms roll and clouds come, but blue skies always come around. Nothing is ever permanent. Things always change. You know, red lights turn green. You hit a stop sign, you go. You know, you have rocky times. You just always continue on. So with the relationship, it was like, oh, please don't tell me that it's over now. Like, you know, like, this is a good time. I don't want it to ever end because I found my peace or whatever with my significant other, you know?
right.
The funny thing with that song is I totally forgot about it. And then like we did it before Klank moved to Texas, and he had everything done. He kept, and then all of a sudden, every time we talked about SPL stuff, he was like, "Oh, what about Please Don't Tell Me?" And I'm like, "What song is that?" I have no idea.
What?
Remember, most of the stuff, we do it with Klank a lot of times too, like because I always send, like, anytime we come up with any ideas or we work on something, we send it to him, and he's really good with stockpiling things. And then all of a sudden he'll go through like his phone or his computer and be like, "Oh, what about this?" And he'll be like, and I'm like, I have no idea what that is. So I think it was, I don't know if it was when you moved back or you came out to work on stuff for a week.
That's when I came out in that April.
Yeah, he was like, "What about Please Don't Tell Me? We got to do that one too." And I'm like, and I had a hard drive crash on me.
Ooh.
And a cover we did for SPL, a Depeche Mode cover that we did, is nowhere to be found, and that song was nowhere to be found. So we ended up having to redo the whole thing,
recreate
it from an MP3, like try to get the same tones, get the same sound. So it was actually pretty funny how it's still a little different from the original version, but it's funny how that came about. That's probably the last one that we did. But yeah, it was a fun little story on that one.
Do you remember which song you were covering?
It's No Good. We did.
Okay.
Yeah, Depeche Mode.
It's no good. You want me.
Right, and the plan was to release it on this, but my analness was like, I don't want to. All we have is an MP3 of it, so I didn't want to take an MP3 and master it to a WAV file, and then so
right, and have them recondense it.
Yeah, right. I didn't want to go back and forth, so we have to remake that one, which is in the works.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, I did notice that with the track "We Need More Love," it's another. See, what a lot of people don't seem to realize, if you've only listened to Still Suffering, there are other Klank albums out there, and there's a lot of songs that hit the interpersonal, cry of, it's not just your usual angsty aggro band. There's a lot of positivity in a lot of the lyrics of Klank songs. This one, "We Need More Love," kind of hits on that lyrically. And I guess I should bring up that as far as the EP goes, as far as the music, normally when I hear the designation synth pop, I think of whipped cream, a big tub of whipped cream, just fluffy, sweet, and yet empty calories, and the word synth pop written in that Cool Whip font on the front or something. But
you paint a vivid picture.
I really wish I had a tub of whipped cream right here. I'd be like,
I know, right?
Well, I tend to do that, but that's probably because a lot of the synth pop that I was exposed to in the 80s and the 90s was on Top 40 radio, and they tend to play the stuff that, formulaic. They know that people are going to listen to it. Whereas when you think of Depeche Mode, say, bring up Depeche Mode again, a lot of that stuff is the stuff you kind of sit through while you're getting to something like, say, Strange Love or I Feel You. That the better stuff, because this EP, all the tracks are unique, different flavors as far as the music and music goes. But the "We Need More Love" is that. My brain just quit. I guess I was going to ask what was the sausage making behind that particular song?
Lyrically, it's kind of like my take on "People Are People" from Depeche Mode, only because, he says, "I can't understand what makes a man hate another man," like they say that, and it was like, this was also like, this is that time where I had also started going back to church and kind of had refound my faith, and I was trying to change the lens that I was seeing the world in, because I'm so used to, everybody has your blinders on. I was just seeing things, and it was like, man, like we're all the same. We are literally all the same inside. We just different outside in appearances. I'm like, and I think with that one, I don't know if Pat remembers in more detail, but that one, I think you had all the music essentially written for, I think minus maybe one keyboard line or something. And because, you know, that one has a, you know, it's very instant kind of head bobby. And I was just like, man, I was sitting around listening to it, and it was like, you know, as I look at this world, it brings tears to my eyes. I see brother fighting brother. I can't understand why. Though we differ in appearance, we're the same down inside. So tell me, why must we fight? We need more love, love, love in this place. We need more love today, you know. And it was like, it was just basically like a simple plea, cry out, like, hey, you know, you look around, you look at the news, you know, there's life in general, and it's like you just see so much hate, and it's like, you know, we can actually do good and do better and learn from past mistakes and try to, you know, instead of just repeating history over and over, why don't we, you know, take a tip from what we've learned instead of doing the same thing over and over, try to change, better ourselves from it, and just try to show more love, and just stating that, hey, look at the world, like we, you know, we need more love.
Yeah.
Essentially. That's pretty much how it happened musically, right, Pat? If I'm not mistaken.
I think so. If I remember correctly, I'm trying to even think of the song right now. It was probably the main beat of the song was probably, I think was probably written in my car during lunch at work. I would always bring a native instruments machine and leave it in my car, and to help me get through the day at work, I would take my lunch and go outside with my laptop and hook it up and come up with like a, you know, just play around, see if anything flowed. And I think actually I think we were working on Klank remixes and going through some like old machine projects I had, and that was one of them. And he was all of a sudden was like, that's a perfect SPL song.
I totally forgot. I had totally forgotten about that.
Because it's around the same time. What was that? The Justin Timberlake remix that we did.
Yes.
I think it was probably that same day. Well, it's not Justin Timberlake. Sorry, it's actually a Klank remix on a remix CD. We joke around because we joke around that it was like just because Darren sings it totally, or Klank sings it totally different. So we
sang it totally falsetto, like
So,
we said this sounds like something Justin Timberlake would do.
It was our inside joke of Justin Timberlake.
Bringing sexy back.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah, bringing not so sexy back.
Yeah.
Middle-aged dad, oh yeah.
Yeah, so that was a Klank remix. I just all of a sudden, same type of thing. We were going through all like old machine beats, and that turned into he just started singing like one of the Rise songs over it in this like almost reggae-ish type of like
cadence.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's
and that was the same thing. And then we were just going through and trying to get like, hey, what do you have? You know, let's try to get like a little inspiration. And Need More Love was one of those that we ended up
that was definitely one of my mental notes that as I was driving, I'm thinking this could totally be a reggae song. It's Ziggy Marley. What's Ziggy Marley been doing recently? I mean, bring him in. So
yeah.
Now, So Alive. That's probably my favorite song off of there, simply because it's for lack of a better word, more one of the heavier type of synth tracks that you have going. And I know Pat has mentioned that it started life as something, sounding a little bit different, at least. This one could find its way to somebody's like workout mix, as far both lyrically and the fact that it's a lot more driving. So and again, I'm just going to say it. I at first I thought I saw the title and I thought, did they cover the Love and Rocket song? But no, it's something completely original. But yeah, go ahead and what's the story behind that one?
That's actually, I think, the oldest one we have, right, Pat? Wasn't that?
Yeah,
this was before I heard it again.
This was written when we were writing
Yeah, and it has. You can hear definitely a God Lives Underwater type influence, because none of the other songs have any kind of guitars with dirt on it. I don't want to say super distorted, but that one has.
So funny that you say that. I like literally. It's so funny that you mentioned that, because I was about to say, like, that song was, at the time we were really big God Lives Underwater influenced, and that's where this song to me kind of came from. And it's so old that I remember when POD's song came out. I feel so alive. It's so funny because we were like, when that came out, we were both like, "Are you kidding me?"
like, hey, we have this song, but it's been sitting for 20 years at that point.
So yeah, it was so this is probably like 98, 99 we wrote it. It's changed a little bit. It's definitely changed over the years. But yeah, it's an oldie.
And the funny thing about that,
underwater,
has
that underwater vibe.
And that whole thing with lyrically was because we were touring so much at that point. It was like we'd go out for 2, 3, 4 months, come back, work for a month or so, whatever we could, then jump on another tour. So like with the lyrics on this, it was just like, because there's nothing like being in a band. There's nothing like playing live, because especially, you're in your 20s, you've got zero responsibilities, you're living home or whatever. So it's not like, you're not going to get thrown out in the street per se, if you're not meeting rent and stuff. So it was like, with that, it was like, man, just the lyrics straight up, like, another day, another place to be, but it's all right by me. I wouldn't trade it for the world. And it's okay to join me in this place. Your problems all erase. Share a little peace of mind. And it's here I find. I'm feeling so alive, and I never want to come down. That was like, that has maybe like almost like a little kind of 9 Inch Nails kind of twist to it. But it just, like Pat said, it was very God Lives Underwater, because we're still big fans of those. But that one was like, that was one of those ones where that was kind of like a constant repeat in a tour van. Like, there were certain albums, Life of Agony, God Lives Underwater. There was just certain, and Typo Negative, certain things that were just constantly playing. And that one just kind of, he came up with the main beat and riff and stuff on it. And it was like, man, that was another one where all of a sudden it was like, I don't know what to say. I don't know. And then all of a sudden, as he kept playing it, it was like, my brain was just like starting to see things in the Matrix. And it was like, and it was like, oh. Start jotting it down, and it was like, oh, Pat, I think I got something. And then it was like, throw some scratch vocals down. Hey, let's build on that from here. Oh, cool. Let's do this. And then it was like, hey, we have that breakdown in the middle. Let's throw like a breathy part, It all seems so surreal, the way it makes me feel, and just talking about like the lights on stage and just the euphoric bliss. It's like being high. Yeah. It literally is, because anybody who does any kind of creative arts, it doesn't have to be music. It could be writing stories like you, graphic arts, poetry, whatever. It's like you get this buzz, this high, this endorphin release, especially when it's something that's really hitting. Like for Pat and I, especially, like we'll listen to something and we'll be like, okay, throw a scratch vocal or double up or something, and then we'll listen to the end, and then he'll like roll around in his chair and look at me, and we'll both go like this, and we're like, dude, the hair on the arms is like a porcupine, and you're just like, like this is it, see, it's doing it right now. It's like you just feel it, and you're like, it just feels real, it feels right, and that's when you've got something to us that's gold, and it's going to work, and whatever. And it was basically just trying to encompass that feeling, even though it doesn't say touring or whatever. It's that's initially what it was, and the thought process behind it, and then the song kind of took on its own thing. And like Pat said, it's changed a little bit over the years, but right, it's funny because I was out running errands yesterday, and usually we listen to songs like we're going to mix and master. We listen to the crap out of them over and over and over on different stereos just to see how does it sound on Bluetooth? How does it sound in here? How does it sound in the car? How does it sound in the kitchen? How does it sound in the studio? You really got to get a good vibe on it. And I was texting yesterday. I said, man, I'm out running errands. And I'm smiling like a little kid on Christmas morning because I'm like, I'm really, I was so happy with everything and just how the way everything, finalized and how it came out, like, especially since the song's humble beginning down in 1998, sorry.
Yeah. 98, yeah. Del, you had
no, you mentioned that one had the Nine Inch Nails feel to it, and I'd kind of started getting that, but then as you were saying before, the whole album, I gotta say, like, when it comes to things like the genre titles, I don't know jack about. There was, like, back in my day, I knew the terms techno and industrial, and that was
Exactly.
all I knew. I didn't know what synth pop was, but I got that kind of Nine Inch Nails feel to it. But like you're saying, it's the album though, because Jesus Christ, does Trent Reznor have the most horrible life in the world? Everything is depressing. Like, you want to listen to something backwards and get happy if you did that, It's just, what's going on? But you definitely have a lot more positive. I mean, you aren't quite Bass Hunter level, like, boom, 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 like, everything's great. I can walk on water. I can, you don't have girls in little shorts dancing, but
just us.
yeah.
I mean, we
shorts.
get just little shorts dancing on the stage. But I love that. I got that feel, but it didn't go into the, like, okay, now where's that razor? I lost it.
Exactly.
Wow. So last track on the EP, Deep Blue Sea, was there?
Pat, do you remember musically?
I
pretty much had the main part that I don't remember.
I just remember recording the vocals. Like, it was funny. So when I moved into, me and my wife, before we got married, moved into a condo, like second floor condo, and we had, it was a 2-bedroom condo, and I had studio in 1 bedroom, and then my wife was at work, so Klank and our old drummer came over. We're like, hey, let's go record some stuff, and then he ended up just coming up with lyrics to that, and we recorded it there. That was probably in, I would say, 2013, 2014 ish, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was probably just something, again, just flowed. Like, I think he just came over, we're like, hey, let's just work on stuff. And then we didn't know if we were going to work on Klank stuff or what. And it just, something that came up right away. And he's like, I got an idea for it. Let's roll with it.
Yeah.
Very
off the cuff, but awesome.
Yeah. Another song I forgot about. I tend to forget about songs. And he's like, what about this one?
Which one is that? I'm like, the one. Or a lot of times we have it labeled different things. Like, he'll have, like, like he was talking about the piece of gear he was using is called Machine. It'll say, like, Machine 1, 3, or whatever. Or, like, we'll have, Dancy 1, Groovy, Hook. Or, we have all these little names just to tag for it. But I remember he had, when he was playing that, it was the main part. I was trying to think of how it goes for the verse part. And I was just like, oh wow. I was just sitting there like, gee, what to say? And then all of a sudden, and that was lyrically, the crazy part about it is, in my mind, this was written, and Pat, I don't know if you remember, like, music is so important to me, to Pat, to us, to people who are real music heads. It's like, like Jimi Hendrix had a song about, what was he talking about? Like saving music or rescuing it or something like that had came up. And I was thinking, what if somebody stole music? Music was taken away. What would I do to bring it back? And then, or to have it back in my life. Like, that's when I was like, I'd walk through the desert sun. I'd swim across the deep blue sea. just like basically like if somebody removed music from, like a Thanos type thing, removed it, I'd be like, we would move mountains. We would do whatever we had to do, search high and low to find it, to bring it back. And I know it probably sounds cheesy to say it like that, but that's where essentially where the whole gist of it came from. And it was like, because I remember first coming up with the hook, I'd walk in the desert sun, I'd swim across the deep blue sea. And then it was just like, oh, this is cool, and then it changed into the boom, 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 the other part. And it was just like, again, don't know what to say. And I'm like, record, lights on, mic is live, do something, And then it was just like, man, like, you're all that I want. I must make you mine. This fire burns deep inside, consuming all that I am. And it's just the love and the hunger and the want for music, to have music as a part of your life, because a lot of people say they don't know what they would do if they didn't have music as an outlet in their life. I'd be dead or in jail. I know that for a fact, just because I have a very addictive personality. And when I tend to find something and like something, I go down the rabbit hole, for better or for worse, whatever it is, So, and for music, it's always been like, this is the therapy. It's since day one, we said with Klank, they go, describe Klank. Klank is a page out of a journal or a diary set to music. We call it sonic therapy. It's so much better for us to get together and get our frustrations and things we're feeling out in music than sitting on some couch paying somebody $300 an hour to listen to them and sit there with their little pen with their glasses on or something. Like this is our therapy. And music means so much that, hey, you know what, come hell or high water, we would go from one end of the earth to the other if we had to rescue it, to bring it back, because that's essentially what it means for us.
Yeah. I know, I know, especially growing up, finding that music is a great therapy, just listening to the music. And that's that's the main reason why I started doing the writing, because that's a way to make the voices stop, just getting it out there. Right. So yeah. I do have a couple of questions here to follow up, and then I think this has been a great conversation today, guys. But
yeah, awesome.
First, I know as under the moniker of Klank, there's a couple of covers that you did in the past. You did the Van Halen cover on the EP, and then that Striper one. I don't know if you remember doing that.
Yeah, that was forever and a day ago, but yeah.
I have a copy of that now.
Yeah,
I see. Wow, because that label tanked like early on. So
yeah, that Alex from that label was actually just here a few weeks ago. He spent a couple of days here because he had a storage unit. He was living down in LA and then moved up north to Oregon, and was like, hey man, I need to go down to LA to pick up some stuff out of storage. He had like a whole bunch of GATs and stuff, and he said, I need to because he kind of wanted to not so much revive the old label, but he wanted to take a lot of that stuff that's been stored and finally make it available. And it's funny because you were talking about covers. He actually has, I don't know if you're familiar with King Diamond, No Presents for Christmas.
Yeah.
We did a cover of that in 90, what was that, 98? 97, 98?
That was even, I think that was even older than that, probably like 96.
That might have been, actually, that might have been 96, 97. Yeah. And there was one version that was on a CD because MP3s weren't really a thing then. And that got lost at a previous drummer's house with a bunch of my stuff. And so I kind of forgot about it. And then Alex goes, hey man, I still got that DAT, and I got that Striper, the King Diamond song you did, the Klank Christmas song. And I was like, you have that? He goes, oh yeah. So Pat has that at his house and a bunch of other stuff he was cleaning up for Alex, so Alex could eventually make that stuff come to light. I know we kind of sidetracked on that.
You sent me like years ago. You sent me a file including that the cover of Kisses, Her, only you rewrote it about Santa Claus. You renamed it Him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was for
Fingers Metal Shop.
Fingers Metal Shop, a big rock radio station on Long Island. We're friends with the DJ, and we've played live on, we always did special things. So he was a huge Kiss fan, and he would always every year would do a Kissmas show, and he approached us. He's like, "Hey, would you guys mind doing this, she over?" But he's like, "I got lyrics," and would do them as Christmas, right? Did he have the lyrics, or you wrote the lyrics?
No, he wrote everything. He said, "If you don't mind writing, sing it." And I said, "Oh, well, cool."
And then and then we just went in, we recorded it in like a day or two, and had it on his Christmas show. So that was super fun.
And he played it every year, which was good, because he was literally the biggest metal hard rock disc jockey. He's from Long Island, but it was like you could go to New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, and he was like, if you got on the Fingers Metal Shop, dude, that was the thing.
Yeah.
And on it, then he would have.
I'm gonna do like my kids, freeze, unfreeze.
Klank, are you there? Hello, Klank. But my next question was going to be, would you consider doing like a full cover album?
We've been talking about it. We actually have a bunch of covers that we're working on. So that is on our agenda. We have a handful of covers that are already in the works.
Yeah.
Okay.
So at some point we'll start doing that.
No.
We'll start releasing.
God forbid we rush things,
Right. Whether it's like a full CD release or just like one-offs here and there, we'll have some covers coming.
Now, are any of them like songs that nobody expects you guys to cover?
Yes.
Like say Grave Robber just released a covers album, and on there is like a cover of Space Odyssey by David Bowie.
Oh. Just wait till you hear our version of Air Supply, Making Love Out of Nothing at All. I don't think I could sing as high as that dude, though.
Yeah.
Do we get like a virgin?
Maybe it might be on there. Actually, maybe on the list.
I don't know if you remember, but in 1994, when I was in college radio, they released a Carpenters tribute album, and on there was Shonen Knife, that the Japanese alternative band that did a cover of one of those, and that it's a fascinating album. I'm not going to get it too much into that, but anyway, on the Charon collection, the SynthPop LullaBye EP is available on compact disc, and obviously for download, both for $5 for the download, $8 for the CD itself. Do you think it'll garnish enough numbers to justify, say, a nice vinyl release, maybe a 10-inch?
So we have been talking about a 10-inch, but we have to see how it goes. Like, if it would be financially worth it, if there would be enough want for it, I guess. So we've been talking about it with in our group chat because we want it. So we're working on like having everything ready to do a vinyl, but it would have to be like financially feasible. Like if there's a want for it, then we'll do it. We'll do a short one.
Have you thought about crowdfunding at all? I know we're going through in one of the books, or one of the book series that I'm in, and re-releasing the book with now like hardcover color illustrations and all this stuff, and really upraising it because the book sold pretty decently. But then it was like, okay, now we're going to make a better version of it. You could do like give people the Kickstarter or whatever crowdfunding type of platform, a chance to promote and get the vinyl ordered, and that could pay for the cost for that if it gets fulfilled, and give away things for the little tiers and stuff, like a song or MP3 of the album or something as part of the tier. Just suggest. I'm sorry. I'm a
Yeah,
Kickstarter
we haven't-
fanatic,
we haven't-
so
We haven't discussed that aspect, but you know,
Okay.
Might be a way to go.
just a suggestion.
Yes.
I've
Yeah.
just been through a lot of those lately, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I remember the campaign you guys did to try to get Between Unholy and Divine on the vinyl release. But
yeah. See, that was basically what we did. Was we just set up pre-orders a year in advance, because also thanks to COVID and the shutdowns, all the pressing plants were a minimum a year out, and we were like, that's crazy. Because then, like, dude, we all work. Everybody works a job. You know, we bust our butts. So it was like, okay, what if we set up a couple of different packages and then pre-order? Because we knew, okay, if by the time we had Anthony had artwork laid out and we did everything, and then Pat had all the, because everything has to be mastered specifically for vinyl. It was like, okay, if we shoot to have everything done by this day, you know, they had already checked into the vinyl company and they said, okay, well, you're looking at, let's say, I think it was like a month. It was like 13 months or something like that. We're like, okay, well, we could start taking pre-orders at this point. And the whole thing was just, you know, to try to have less come out of our pockets personally, individually, to make it happen. Because we stopped trying to, how do I say it? The illusion of, oh, we're just going to be in a band and we're going to get rich and all that, that died years ago. We do this because it's fun, because we want to. We don't have any, you know, we're happy with what we do. Obviously, if it's sold insane, we would love that. We'd love to not have to work, or not have to work as much, but you know, if that ever happens, it happened. But we figured, you know what, if we do it this way, we had, you know, like the mega set, which had test pressings, you know, which had volume, you know, Between Unholy and Divine, Volume 1, Volume 2. We had, I think, 1 or 2 of those. We had a couple of different tier type things. So it was almost like kickstarting, but the pre-order wise, because my biggest thing too would be, I think I'd feel a lot like crap if we said, okay, we're going to, you know, shoot for this goal. And then if we didn't reach it, like, even if it was something petty, like let's say $5,000 or something, if we weren't able to fund it and we had to turn people, you know, give them their money back, I'd be like, oh man, we suck. I suck. You know, it's just the mental aspect, because I always hate when you see somebody whose campaign comes so close and they don't achieve it. And then it's like, well, if they didn't reach that mark, they couldn't do it the way they really wanted it. They don't want to downgrade it. You know, you don't want to, you don't want to serve steak-em. I want to serve ribeye. You know what I'm saying? I want to put the good thing out there. And it's like, you don't want to ghetto out and chintz out, you know?
And with Volume 1 and Volume 2 vinyls, they were already paid for, and the process of getting them printed up was already started before we started pre-orders for both of those. But I'll just second what Klank said. You know, my ego, or our ego. You know, you set up a Kickstarter and it doesn't, or one of those crowdfunding, and you get like one person that goes, oh, I'll go for $10, and you know, that's what you earn.
Yeah. Your campaign was for $4,800 and you earned $13. For me, that would be like,
oh wow,
right?
That would like deflate me.
And that was my mother.
Well. So, all right. So I believe we should start wrapping up right now. This has been an amazing discussion, guys. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us. We really appreciate it.
Just super fun. Thank you. We appreciate it.
You guys were awesome.
If you guys want to sit in on the Tomb of the Terrible, you have to watch a terrible movie and talk about it. But you know, you're welcome to stop by.
Yeah.
So do you watch it real time and comment back and forth on it?
No, unfortunately, we can't.
Copyright violations.
Oh, that's right. I was like, because that would be like a Mystery Science Theater 3000 type
That's
vibe.
the first thing that came up in my head. I was just about to say that too.
Right.
I love that. I would totally do the shadow. You know.
Right.
That would be hysterical.
If we could do that, I definitely would. But yeah. So
we can't afford that.
It still sounds like fun, though. It still sounds like fun to do.
You'd have to find a really old movie.
Currently this month I'm making everybody, well, not this month, this entire season, I'm making them watch spin-offs of Amityville movies because there's like over 100 of them. We've done Amityville Death Toilet, Amityville in Space, Amityville Karen.
These are actual movies?
Oh yeah.
Actual movies.
Go. Oh, they're horrible. It's amazing.
Except for that one.
Which one?
The one that wasn't horrible. I forget the name of it, but it was you and Jenny.
Oh, I can't remember.
Watching.
Yeah,
I can't. Yeah, of course we would forget the one that isn't terrible. But yeah.
Oh, I can find it. We had. Hold on, we've done Amityville in Space, the last Amityville movie. That was the one that wasn't terrible. Then there was Amityville Death Toilet, Amityville Exorcism, Amityville Clown House, and Amityville Karen. And tomorrow we are reviewing the Amityville Moon, which actually has nothing to do with Amityville whatsoever. It's a werewolf movie that just happens to have that in the title. Yeah.
It was funny is Pat and I both lived about 10 minutes from the actual Amityville Horror House on Ocean Avenue.
Yeah.
Really?
On Long Island.
I grew up the next town over.
Yeah. And I used to mow when I worked with the landscaper from church right out of high school. If you were standing looking at the Amityville house, I used to mow the house right next door to the left. So it was kind of weird. I remember the first time being like, no. And then it was like, oh crap, yeah. And people line up on Halloween. Like the street is just lined with people just to look at it, you know?
Do they put eyes? Yeah, do they put the pig eyes in the window on Halloween?
Well, the funny thing is they've changed the shape. They've tried to make it not look as much like it, like square windows and stuff, but it is what, you know, it's folklore, especially on Long Island. It's like growing up, you got an Iron Maiden CD and you knew where the Amityville Horror House on Ocean Avenue was. It was like certain things everybody knew. You just like you were born into knowing it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Del, do you have access to that Get Out sound clip? We can show them.
Oh, yeah. This is one of my friends from New York has recorded these for us. This is how we start the Amityville shows with
Get out. Like, seriously, get out. Like right now.
And then we end it with...
You're still here. But I said get out. What the hell?
I wasn't able to hear any audio of it.
No, I wasn't either.
Go home.
No?
It didn't come through. Sorry.
That's weird.
Sequel.
I
don't want that.
I was listening intently.
It's our friend Drew who is on my splash pages with me, and he was always telling people to get out. So since the house has like the get out thing, it's just him telling people to get out.
Yeah,
what are you doing here?
Well,
I keep him around on a pillow so that when he's not around to tell people to get out, I can have him.
He's still there.
Yes.
Then the show just implodes on itself.
My emotional support Drew pillow.
I was going to say, live vicariously through the pillow.
I got a squirrel and a pillow. I'm great.
Del, do you have any final questions for the gentleman here?
No, I was going to go into some of the video things and stuff, but that would get very extended, I think, once we started going into that. And I think you covered everything pretty well with wrapping things up and keeping it right here. So
okay, all right. So go ahead. Sorry.
I'm just gonna say thanks for having us again.
Well, thanks for coming on and being our very first musician.
Yes.
Woo!
So, Klank, is there anything you want to plug? Any beard oils or t-shirts?
Well, I was going to say, everybody, find us on the usual socials under Klank Nation on Instagram, Twitter, Klank Nation. I use Goat's Gruff Beard Care, one of their ambassadors since like 2013 or something like that now. So they keep me looking tight. So I got to give them a plug. But and we're on all the streaming sites for Klank and SynthPop LullaBye. Just search either one and you'll pull it up. And just want to encourage people to listen. And if you like what you hear, please add us to your libraries and to your playlists.
Cool. You also have a T-shirt that immortalizes your former pet, I believe.
Yes, we have our threadless. Pat, is it Klank Nation threadless? Do you remember?
I have no
Basically,
idea.
I had a my pit mix was 16 years old. She was 2 months past her 16th year birthday, and she passed. So Anthony, our partner there, the best part about Anthony is always, we talk about something, and in the group chat, like within a half hour later, he goes, "Oh, you mean like this?" And he just spits out things. I got to New York after Ellie passed away because I needed to kind of decompress because she was not just my emotional support animal. You know, she went with me to work every day. We did everything together. So it was really hard. Yeah, it's still hard. So Anthony came up with this, he called it Rock and Roll Ellie. So it's Ellie's face because she always smiled, every picture, every video. And it's got 2 guitars and wings behind it. And it was just really cool because I was basically the first day in New York when he talked about it. And then when we went live with the shirt design, I was like the first one to order it and I had it sent. And I was so like, I'm going to cry holding this shirt right now. But so we got all our designs on the thread. Were you able to find it, Pat?
Yeah, it's threadless.com/@Klank. And you can find Klank merch, Klank designs, SmokeDogg production designs, and there's a few new SynthPop LullaBye designs on there as well. And you can find
we have
there.
If you want to send that to him, I can add that to the show links too.
Awesome.
So
cool.
Awesome.
I was just going to say I was pretty much devastated when I heard that. Eli passed on, and I don't know how I'm going to take it if and when Gallifrey's time comes on, because they're like family.
Yeah, they are, especially when you have them for so long, you know. Yeah. And the vet had said most dogs like her age, they don't usually last past like 12 or 13, depending. You know, in the last couple of years, she had some, medical stuff. But I didn't have kids. I never had kids. So she was my kid. Her and Gallifrey are my kids. And she was with me through the drugs, the alcohol, the divorce. It wasn't just, I know everyone says, well, it's not just a dog, but we have a special bond. And she was literally there through all the times where I needed her most, so it was heavy. And it was just so awesome when Anthony did that. And when we first premiered it, so many people bought it, which just made me feel so good. The fact that so many people loved her and cared her, and what a great way to immortalize her, because that way no one was ever going to forget her,
So,
and she shouldn't be forgotten.
No, she was a studio dog. She'd come with me every time to the studio, and Pat's dog, Sophie, would come out, and they would sit together, hang out, sniff each other, sleep together on the floor on their pet beds while we recorded for hours upon hours upon hours.
Sophie still comes out looking for her every time Klank's here.
Yeah.
Aww.
Yeah. So, Pat, are there any other links that you wanted to promote, or?
No, I think just all the links that you got. I shared the Threadless link in the chat here. This is what I got.
I'll get that added.
Awesome.
What is your favorite Def Leppard album?
This actually is the Deftones.
Okay.
But I grew up. Def Leppard was actually a huge in my house. My sister. Okay. It's funny. My sister actually, she's a little older than me, but she's a Def Leppard nut still to this day. And she actually found a note that she had me sign when I was probably like 8. Said that if I ever got famous or in music, or that I have to introduce her to Def Leppard, or I have to give her all my money, or some funny like that. And she says, she still to this day, she says it's legal because I signed it. She doesn't care that I was only 8 or 9 or whatever. But Yeah. So yeah, Def Leppard. I go back to High and Dry still probably.
Oh,
That album.
I was going to mention that.
It's
in
just
my weird
it's a
nerd
classic.
voice.
Yep. Every so often I throw it on my
you
phone.
See, their first two albums are so much better than Pyromania and Hysteria.
Pyromania is fantastic, though. Yeah, I pretty much stopped listening after Hysteria. But I would still go to shows with my sister when we were back. Yeah, it was cool. We actually got to do. My sister's such a Def Leppard freak that we actually got to do. I was always her partner going to Def Leppard concerts and doing other things, and we would always do like meet and greets with the drummer Rick Allen is in him and his wife or fiance, I don't know if they're married. They do energy medicine courses, and drum circles and stuff like that. So I actually got to meet him and hang out with him a few times. We did a 2-day energy medicine course with him and his wife. Such a cool, down to earth dude, man. Super cool. Yeah. So I got to meet them. Actually, all of them. The only one I haven't met was actually Joe Elliott and Rick Savage, the bass player. But got to meet Phil Collins, Vivian Campbell. They were all like super down to earth, cool dudes. Yeah.
Awesome.
Nice.
Awesome.
Yeah, my Def Leppard stories. Thanks to my sister.
Okay. Del, where can we find you?
You can find me at Carrie, Kari Sanders on Facebook. If you see this, Crow, that is me, and I am judging you. All of my links.
I love it.
Show him the sheep. Show him the sheep.
Oh, yeah, this is my favorite one. He keeps going. Wait.
Oh my god, that's hysterical.
I need that. He's judging you too.
Yeah.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, I need that.
So,
all right. So you can find me there. You can find my author pages there. I am on every Sunday and Monday here on the Owlite Network. Tomorrow we're going to be doing, like I said, the Amityville Moon on Tomb of the Terrible. And I am also on Splash Pages, a comic book comic book podcast on StreamYard as well, part of the Dorkenings Network. And this week we are bringing back the awesome, amazing Mark Waid. If you like Superman, you might have heard of him. He's fabulous. And we're having him back for, I think, the second time on the show. And yeah, then I have the rest of the week off. So yeah, come watch my stuff, read my stuff. I'm fun. And UncleNecRo.
All right. Well,
where do we find you?
As always, I am your humble servant, UncleNecRo. You can find me on the Owlite Network at Tomb of the Terrible every Monday night. As Del has pointed out, we're doing the Amityville Moon. I still haven't seen it yet. That's going to be my next thing. But also, you can find me doing NecroShock radio blog and regular blogs. And in real life, you can find me at the farmhouse in eastern Nebraska, where I listen to a lot of music, watch a lot of movies, and read and write, and usually outside yelling at squirrels. So until next time, even though this isn't my show, I'm going to say, thank you for watching, and see you guys next time. Spay and neuter your friends. Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.